In this video, you will see a simple end-to-end data pipeline where observability at the left can automatically address a lot of data issues that can go undetected. I've picked an insurance claims example for this demo. In the insurance world, data drives everything from how claims are processed and policies are priced to regulatory compliance needs. But as most data teams know, the reality is rarely simple. Claims data pours from dozens of partners in every format imaginable: CSV, text, JSON, APIs, Parquet, all landing in bronze layer of modern data lakehouse. That's where the chaos begins. Bronze fills the incomplete records, inconsistent schemas, and unpredictable data volumes. As data moves into the silver for cleansing and transformation, new problems arise. The consistency between bronze and silver could get lost. There are missing records, JSON array breaks, or columns get dropped. And by the time the data reaches the goal layer for analytics or AI, all these small breaks have multiplied, and the business team can't always answer simple things like, is this data trustworthy? So let's put this to life. We've built a simple demo. In this demo, what you will see is, let's start at the right of the source. As claims files land in ADLS, Telmai will automatically profile them, check for schema drifts, missing values, and all the automatic monitors that Telmai would have established on this data. After transformation, we'll look for inconsistencies between this bronze and silver, again automatically through few clicks. And the last tip, we'll also showcase how business validations at the Snowflake layer, including validating some things like ICD codes, which might be sitting in your reference data system, can happen in Telmai. Lastly, all of this is possible if you can decentralize and make sure there is stewardship and ownership of data, which can be across different teams. And we'll show how outcome of Telmai can be routed to either Slack, Jira tickets, or even different stewards. So let's get started with that. Here, I'm switching over to Telmai. You can see in Telmai, we have assets, which is very similar to if you have a data catalog tool. In Telmai, an asset could be a table, any kind of source, a table, a query, or even a flat file. In this case, what I have done is I have built a very simple pipeline of 3 stages where claims data is landing in ADLS, gets transformed, cleaned for silver, again in ADLS, and the gold tier is Snowflake tables. This is simple claims data, simulated data that we have pushed, roughly 4 million records that Telmai is connecting to. Establishing a connection in Telmai is extremely straightforward. You just give the path of your ADLS bucket. Here I have given the path of that ADLS bucket. This data is coming in CSV format. This could be done manually or through APIs. And once this connection is established, Telmai detects what is the shape of this data, what are the different attributes, whether they are nested, JSON, arrays. Telmai will detect that. You can decide which attributes need to participate in monitoring. After this, the steps are straightforward. You can either manually or programmatically scan this data to start deriving the insights. In this case, when the first time the data has landed, Telmai will profile this data without sampling at scale and low cost, which is what we exactly did for the demo. I've already done this. So every scan in Telmai will run. This was 4 million, roughly 1 gigabyte of data in simple demo environment. Took around 10 to 11 minutes, sometimes 12 minutes. Once the scan happens, we will extract the metrics around the scan and data. So here, what we realized is that the record count was 4 million roughly for this load. Different metrics like uniqueness, correctness, completeness, even at column value level, we detect how much of these records are populated, how much of these values are populated, what are the unique values, distinct values, is it a low cardinality, high cardinality. We'll also figure out what is the patterns and distributions, and all of these different metrics become the foundation for even not just profiling and presenting to you, but even building what we call automatic monitors on top of this data. Very unique to this data set, and in this case, very unique to that claims data that Telmai has reviewed. So here, automatically Telmai has detected what does completeness look like in this data? What is data drifts look like? What are the value for each column schema attribute? What is the range for this value? So all of this become the foundation for continuous monitoring. And since Telmai is configured to run on this ADLS bucket constantly, every single load, we are not only running and checking this data against this monitor, we are also slowly adjusting the thresholds of this monitors. So in this case, this is a model data set, but in this case, what we did is we put like roughly, 9 different data loads happened for this data set. So first data set, we learned, we profiled, then onwards we started every time new data was coming in, we were monitoring this data. You see we were monitoring. The blue bar indicates that this is a new load, and no issues at the bottom, no alerts, means that it was a fairly healthy data load. Here on the fifth load, however, the number 1 indicates there has been an alert. Let's take a look what this was. I look at this. The scope was across the table or across that file that landed. There's a record count drift. When I click on this, I see that Telmai, first the blue bar behind indicates that Telmai has built a threshold. And this indicates that the record count drifted from that threshold. So you see Telmai's threshold was between 3.8 million to 4.2 million, but in the last load, we have received only partial data. This has become an alerting situation that Telmai automatically detected. This is very common when the data lands, specifically in insurance claim situation where provider is pushing data, but sometimes the partial data lands. And this got automatically detected and became an alert situation. After that, there was another good load, but load number 7 had 3 issues. The first one here, the scope is provider NPI. That means this specific attribute had an issue. The issue was completeness issue, that historically for the previous every load, this value was always complete. But last load, we have received much lesser and we have received incomplete data. The interesting part is because Telmai doesn't do sampling, if you click on this, it takes you to Investigator where you can do some root cause analysis. You exactly know how many attributes are null. So you click on this and you are going to see the records which have null values. So this is really good for doing remediation or any next best action on top of this data. So here we didn't just detect an issue. We went and told you that which records are flagged and also the record IDs of this record. Sometimes people want to send this to users who are upstream users, either the source owners. You can do that as well. Here you can export these records with the ID keys so that they can take actions on this. Going back to the trends and alert, the load number 8 had a different type of issues. Now load number 8 also had an issue which is very typical on the bronze layer, which is something changed on the schema. Either attributes got removed, delete, change. Upstream, somebody has changed this. And most likely it could be change of name for attribute. But since it was not notified, we were not aware, we didn't react, or the pipeline was not updated for this. So Telmai detected an issue like this. So here you can see that there were so many different type of issues that are very typical on the bronze layer or the landing layer when the data first gets done. Are detected by Telmai without any pre-training and so on. Let's move now to the silver layer. So once this data lands, we can set up alerts and so on and so forth. But now, going back to our architecture, this data gets processed and pushed to silver. Another typical issue that happens is during this transformation, some records get dropped. JSON could have issues. What I did here is that I created a data diff on this data set. So what that means is between bronze and silver, we are going to compare these two systems to see if there are issues. And this is very straightforward in Telmai. Again, through UI, no code needed. You can just run a data comparison, provide a bucket where the detailed insights would be pushed out, like the actual comparison of every single column value. Once you set this up, in this case, I ran the data diff and Telmai detected issues. When I click on this issue that was detected, it takes me again to our trends and alert. I'm able to exactly see what was the diff. Here we see that there were new records added to the silver layer that did not exist in the bronze layer. This looks like a real issue because that typically this won't happen because most of the data in bronze will be processed and pushed to silver. So this is a record count drift, and there's also difference in the values of the record. So if you really want to go deep, you can even see what are the inconsistencies between two records. And the actual file got pushed to the ADLS bucket that we defined. So far, we have seen automatic monitors that are established by Telmai automatically. The thresholds are built, and these are self-evolving thresholds. But what if you want to write business-specific rules? In this case, let's say you want to have checks like claims data cannot be beyond $5,000 because this data, this provider, the claims are in this range. Or you may want to put a rule around that the ICD codes are validated against a reference data set that's managed by the governance tool. So let's take a look how that can be done. In this case, I'm going to show this on our goal tier specifically, that we're going to set some data quality checks on this goal tier. So here you come to Telmai. Very straightforward to set up a rule. Like you come here, you select. In this case, I set up this rule with very simple things like validates claims amount. Telmai is going to check if the schema attribute exists. Expect numeric value in the range of 1 to 1000, which is very, very simple basic check. You can write it in SQL format. You can write an expression that Telmai supports, or even through our chatbot. You can just define rules using our chatbot. I'll show that in a bit. And you can even test that right here. So that's the test went through. This is one set of rules that you could write. We could even write some advanced rule. In this case, we have something called like we wanted to validate this data, specifically a schema attribute in Telmai against a reference data attribute. So we've set up a custom metric, and that metric became a policy. And these two policies are now going to be run against every data that comes in the Snowflake, new data, changed data. And just like the automatic monitors that are run on Telmai, even these business defined policies are going to run and be validated. So let's see what happened. In this case, we ran these checks, new data came in, Telmai automatically kicked off and ran on this data set. And here there was a violation of this policy. So there was this diagnostic code reference which was violated, and there were records which had invalid ICD codes. Basically, the codes that did not exist in your reference system were found in your goal tier. So this again becomes an alerting situation. So far you've seen all the different spectrums, automatic alert, what you can do through rules, but what happens after these detections happen? First of all, there could be a situation of over alerting, but most often what will happen is these alerts need to convert into an incident that can be managed across decentralized teams. So source owners can resolve it, data teams can look into it, investigate it. Here, I'm going to specifically look at the insurance incidents, and I see there are incidents reported. Same incidents that we saw over the trends and alert page. In the bronze layer, there are some incidents. On the silver layer, there are some incidents. Notice Telmai automatically created the incidents. There's an intelligence behind the scene which identifies incidents, clubs them together. Incident has a workflow, unlike alert. Alert, a singular incident, can have a full workflow of resolution, opening, collaborating. Telmai even closed automatically few incidents because they didn't reoccur, and we felt like this didn't need a resolution anymore. But here there are some open incidents. You can create a Jira ticket. Everything that you see on UI can be done through APIs. So you can create a Jira ticket, provide some information. You can use any ticketing system you may have. But the interesting part is that not just the APIs to access Telmai, everything you are seeing on the screen is available through our 20 plus MCP tools. I'm losing count of that, but 20 plus MCP tool. And you can access Telmai directly through your agentic workflows. In this case, I'm just going to use the chatbot to showcase some of those capabilities. So here I will say, show me all the incidents 30 days. Let's see what this comes back. This is specifically natural language interface that's used for business users, and today you are seeing this interface in Telmai, but the same interface can be made available wherever your business team sits through MCP to MCP communication. So it could be in your data catalog tools like Atlan, Alation, or any other tool that you may have. Here the incidents are already reported. You can say show incidents by status in bar graph. I'm just trying to interact with the system and see how. Now this is not limited to just showing incidents. You can ask help to Telmai. You can ask how do you set up rules, policies, and Telmai agent interface will give you all the right results in the most natural format. Here you go, you see incidents by status, and then you can go further down. You can even create a ticket by just using this chatbot. You don't have to go through the UI. You can say that create a ticket for this incident. So right now I'm going to limit this demo to just show that you can always use this interface. Keep in mind, this is a UI interface to understand what can be done through our MCP tool. And this interface can be accessed from any third-party tool where your data product users are sitting. That pretty much covers a whole spectrum of what happens with automatic monitors across your Medallion architecture, what happens with user-defined rules in Telmai, how they become the foundation of monitoring across different stages of your pipeline. Once these issues are detected, you can make them into incidents. An incident could have a complete life cycle that could be managed outside Telmai in Jira Ticket or Zendesk or whatever be your ticketing system. But there's a lot more in Telmai that can also be done, is like controlling what data flows between these stages through data quality binning. Another simple step that can be demonstrated. Hopefully this gives you an idea that how through this very low code, no code approach, you can totally control what goes through the consumption tier for your AI and analytical use cases.